The Charleston sun painted cobblestones amber. Magnolias perfumed the air. A picture of southern tranquility. Then, walking with quiet grace, pearls gleaming softly at her neck, a book clutched in her hand. To Officer Brett Strickland, leaning bored against his cruiser, she was an anomaly. Too poised, too well-dressed, those pearls too real for someone like her on this street. He didn't see a respected resident. He saw suspicion. One flick of his gaze, one sharp command, and a peaceful morning walk is about to ignite into a public firestorm. Because he has no idea he just targeted the wife of the city's top cop. Clarice Monroe moved with deliberate elegance through the familiar streets. At 57, her salt and pepper curls framed a face etched with quiet dignity. The pearl necklace, a 20th anniversary gift from her husband Lionel, rested against her cream blouse. She'd just left a small bookstore, a rare first edition of James Baldwin, a surprise for Lionel, tucked under her arm, wrapped neatly in blue ribbon. Charleston bustled around her, a city she knew intimately, flaws and all. She noticed the idling patrol car, a familiar prickle of awareness, but kept walking. This was her city. Why should she flinch? Officer Strickland watched her pass. Boredom and a simmering resentment fueled his gaze. She didn't look hurried, didn't look afraid, didn't even glance his way. That's what got him. The pearls, the posture, the utter lack of deference. He tossed his coffee cup, boots hitting the pavement with intentional force. "Hey," he called out, voice sharp. Clarice stopped, turned, her expression calm, perhaps a hint of annoyance. "Yes, officer." Strickland closed the distance, eyes fixing first on the book, then locking onto the pearls. "That necklace," he jerked his chin. "Where'd you get it?" Her brows lifted slightly. "It was a gift. From my husband." "Looks expensive." He stepped closer. "It is," she replied, no apology in her tone. "You sure it's yours?" A few passers-by slowed, sensing the shift. A woman under a bakery awning subtly raised a phone. "Yes," Clarice said, voice even. "I'm sure." Strickland folded his arms. "Had a report. Woman matching your description. Shoplifting. Downtown jewelry store." Clarice didn't blink. "I just left a bookstore. I don't shoplift, officer. Mind showing me some ID?" His voice tightened. "Do you have reason to suspect I've committed a crime?" "Told you. Match a description. Procedure." "It's harassment," she countered, measured but firm. "I've done nothing wrong." The air crackled. More people stopped, phones appearing. Strickland felt the eyes, but doubling down felt easier than retreating now. "You don't look like someone who'd just be strolling through here with pearls and a rare book," he sneered. "Understand why I'd be concerned?" "No," she said, voice gaining an edge. "I don't understand. But I've learned not to expect understanding from people like you." His jaw clenched. "People like me." She met his gaze directly. The kind who see skin color before character. His hand drifted towards his radio. "I need you to cooperate." "And I need you to justify why I should," she responded, unmoved. "If you don't have cause, I suggest you let me be." The street had become a stage. Whispers grew louder. "What's going on? Why is he bothering her?" Strickland puffed his chest. "You think you're above the law?" "No. But I think I have the right to walk down a street in the city I've lived in my whole life without being interrogated for existing." The crowd leaned in. His authority felt thin, fraying. He was losing control. But he had no clue how completely his world was about to unravel. The tension was palpable. Clarice stood her ground, a pillar of composure amidst the rising unease. Strickland hovered, his frustration boiling. "I'm not going to ask again," he growled. "Show me ID. And I'm not going to surrender my rights just because you've decided I don't look like I belong," Clarice stated clearly. "You haven't given me reasonable suspicion." He stepped closer, violating her space. "Refusing a lawful order, is that what I'm hearing?" "You're giving an unlawful one," she replied coolly. "And yes, I'm refusing to participate in your performance." The crowd murmured agreement. Phones held high. She's holding her ground. It never ends, does it? Strickland glanced around, rattled. Intimidation wasn't working. Don't make this harder than it has to be, he gritted out. Clarice offered a faint, knowing smile. It's already harder than it should be. You made it that way the moment you stopped me. He jabbed a finger towards her necklace. Tell me what store sells pearls like that around here. Sure you didn't just walk out with it? The accusation hung raw in the air. I'm sure, she said. You, however, seem unsure of your own professionalism. A collective gasp. Is he seriously accusing her because she's wearing pearls? This is Charleston, not 1955. Someone shouted. Strickland spun towards the voice. Back off. Active police investigation. You mean public harassment, another retorted. Clarice remained still, chin lifted. I'm done talking, Strickland snarled. Show ID now, or you'll be detained. Slowly, Clarice placed the wrapped book on a nearby bench. She folded her arms. Then do what you think you need to do. But understand this, you're not detaining me because of anything I've done. You're detaining me because of who I am. He reached for his radio, but a sharp voice cut in. She's right. A man in a blazer stepped forward. I've seen the whole thing. She's done nothing. Put your hands on her without cause. This goes straight to the press. Stay out of this. Strickland warned. Remember, you're being filmed from every angle. The man snapped back. This looks a lot like abuse of power. Phones were definitely recording now, live streams broadcasting the scene. Facebook notifications pinged. Strickland looked cornered, trapped between his bruised ego and the undeniable reality of public scrutiny. You think you're something special, he muttered, turning back to Clarice.
I think I'm someone who knows her rights, she replied, and you don't get to strip them from me just because you're uncomfortable. A siren blipped. Another accuser pulled up. A female officer surveyed the scene, her expression neutral. Everything okay here, Brett? Just questioning a suspicious individual, Strickland stammered. The officer looked at Clarice, the crowd, the phones. Doesn't look like that's going over well, she said quietly. Maybe cool this down. I've got it under control, he snapped. Doesn't look that way to me, she countered. Don't need a viral mess. Strickland clenched his fists. He hadn't won. He hated it. He reached for Clarice's wrist. No, shouted crowd. A woman stepped partially between them. Don't touch her. Go ahead, Clarice said, voice hard now. Arrest me. In front of all these people. Then watch what happens next. He froze, hand hovering. The power dynamic had irrevocably flipped. Clarice's voice rose, clear and unwavering. You want to know who I am? Fine. I'm Clarice Monroe. I've lived in Charleston longer than you've worn that badge. I'm a business owner, a community volunteer, a mother, a wife. Strickland blinked, confused. Clarice stepped closer, fully in control. My husband, she continued, is Chief Lionel Monroe. Silence. Absolute, stunned silence. Then, gasp, whispers. Chief Monroe? That's his wife? Oh, Lord, his done. Strickland's face drained of color. His mouth hung open. He stumbled back. Chief Monroe, he whispered, voice hollow. Clarice simply nodded. Yes. And right now, he's probably watching this from his office. The truth landed like a thunderclap. Everything was about to change. The world seemed to hold its breath. Strickland stood paralyzed, the name Chief Monroe echoing in the sudden void. The crowd buzzed with disbelief. Clarice remained poised, a lighthouse in the storm she hadn't created but now commanded. Then, the roar of an engine, screeching tires. A black, department-issued SUV slammed to a halt. Before it fully stopped, the door flew open. Chief Lionel Monroe emerged, immaculate in his uniform, captain's bars glinting. Tall, imposing, his presence radiated authority that needed no announcement. The crowd parted instinctively. Strickland visibly flinched. Lionel's eyes found Clarice first. A flicker of relief crossed his face as he gave a small nod. I'm okay. Then his gaze landed on Strickland, and the relief vanished, replaced by cold fury. Officer Strickland. His voice was low, dangerously controlled. What exactly is going on here? Strickland stammered, incoherent. I asked you a question, Lionel repeated. Why are you detaining my wife? The word hung, heavy and sharp. His wife. She matched the description, so jewelry theft. Strickland mumbled. Did you see her commit a crime? Lionel pressed. Witness anything suspicious? Did she run? Lie? Resist in any way other than asking you to respect her rights? No, so. Then explain how this justifies threatening to detain an unarmed woman carrying a book. I didn't know who she was. Lionel's voice turned to ice. So what? You thought she was just another black woman you could intimidate without consequence. The accusation sliced through the air. That's exactly what you did. In front of witnesses. You humiliated an innocent woman based on nothing but your own prejudice. And now you're realizing you picked the wrong one. Clarice watched, silent. Lionel stepped closer to Strickland. Let me be absolutely clear. My wife does not owe you her dignity. You made a series of bad decisions. Now you're going to answer for them. He turned to Strickland. You're dismissed. Return to the precinct. I expect you in my office, without that badge, by the end of the hour. Yes, sir, Strickland whispered. An officer, Lionel added, stopping him. Pray this is the worst of what you face today, because this is far from over. Strickland nodded stiffly and retreated, his humiliation captured by dozens of phones. Lionel turned to Clarice, took her hand. Are you all right? She nodded. I'm fine. I can't believe this happened, he murmured. Clarice met his eyes. You can't. A pause. Okay, maybe I can, he conceded. She squeezed his hand. Then you know this isn't just about today. I do, and I'll handle it. We will, she corrected gently. Together. The crowd began to disperse, still buzzing. Lionel led Clarice to the SUV. As they drove away, she stared out the window. He never even checked my ID, she said softly. Because it was never about the ID, Lionel replied, gripping the wheel. It was about control. He sighed. He shouldn't have treated anyone that way. Back at the precinct, chaos simmered. Whispers turned to arguments. He tried to cuff the chief's wife. Man's out of his mind. Even if she was random, doesn't excuse it. Division lines were drawn. In his office, Lionel stared blankly, the chief reviewing protocol, the husband reliving the scene, the cold burn of injustice. He'd heard Clarice's stories of subtle slights, but seeing it raw, undeniable, shook him. Deputy Chief Alma Brooks entered. We have a situation, she stated. Bigger than Strickland. The footage is everywhere. Lionel nodded grimly. Then you need to decide how deep this goes, Alma warned. The moment you made that public, it stopped being about just him. It was never just about him, Lionel said. It's a symptom. He outlined his plan, full internal audit, investigate Strickland's entire history, identify patterns, find out who knew, who covered it up. You're going to ruffle feathers, Alma noted. Let them be ruffled, Lionel replied. That evening, the story dominated news cycles. Clarice Monroe became a household name overnight. She sat scrolling through headlines, measured, preparing. They are calling you the Rosa Parks of Charleston, Lionel remarked, joining her. She sighed. I didn't ask for this. But it asked for you, he replied. They discussed the inevitable backlash. I want to speak, Clarice decided. Publicly. If I stay quiet, they'll rewrite what happened. She sat across from a local news anchor, poised, clear-eyed. I didn't speak up because I'm the chief's wife, she stated. I spoke up because I'm tired of watching people who look like me be questioned, disrespected, or dismissed just for existing. The interview went viral, sparking fierce debate but galvanizing support. Lionel faced his leadership team. The tension was thick. Captain Briggs challenged him. You called out one of your own. You made it political. Lionel shot back. He made it political when he decided he could profile someone. If our unity is rooted in protecting bad behavior, we're not united. We're complicit. He announced the audit, the demand for names, the end of silence. Maybe it's time for control burn, he declared. Clarice, meanwhile, planned her next move, a town hall, bringing the community together not just to react, but to build. This isn't just about what we tear down, she told Lionel. It's about what we build next. The town square pulsed with energy. Nearly 1,000 people gathered, diverse, determined. Maya Bell, a veteran civil rights advocate, opened the forum. What happened to Clarice happened to every single one of us who's ever been told they don't belong. Today, we're saying enough. Clarice stepped to the MIC. I was walking, she began, recounting the incident. That officer didn't ask where I was going. He asked me to prove I belong. I'm standing here today, asking how much longer do we accept this? The crowd roared, no more. She unveiled concrete demands, a civilian oversight board, body cam transparency, whistleblower protection, mandatory training. We're not asking for favors. We're demanding change. Lionel watched from the side, then took the MIC. I've worn this badge for 23 years, but if we're not protecting people like Clarice, we're failing. I've been part of a system that rewards silence. I'm done worrying about comfort. He announced a full audit, the commitment to expose misconduct. If they've harmed the public trust, they will answer for it. The response was thunderous. The trial was swift. Strickland found liable, misconduct, abuse of authority, civil rights violations. Outside the courthouse, Clarice addressed a cheering crowd. Today's verdict wasn't just about one officer. It's a promise that we will not stop here. Chief Monroe announced sweeping reforms, independent oversight, camera transparency, community advisory board chaired by Clarice. Some officers resigned, others embraced change. The city began to shift. Complaints were investigated. Outreach increased. Clarice became a national voice for reform. One evening, watching the sunset, Lionel remarked on a new mural downtown featuring her. Am I serious looking or hopeful? She teased. Both, he smiled. Years later, the story endured, not just as history, but as a reminder. Change happens when people refuse to be silenced, when dignity demands a voice. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell.